In the gilded halls of Lux, Lucy Warrington reigns, her name a whisper of fear among staff. Diners bow, waiters tremble, dreading her venomous gaze and impossible demands. She insists black servers like Monica Ellis publicly disclose personal details, name, origins, life story, under the guise of ensuring safety. But Monica, a brilliant 24-year-old law student, doesn't flinch. With a sharp tongue and sharper wit, she turns Lucy's cruelty into a spectacle, making the untouchable billionaire look like a fool. Sparks fly, secrets unravel, and a war begins. Don't miss a moment. Hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because this story is just getting started. Monica's pulse thrummed in her ears as she adjusted her black apron, the crisp fabric a stark contrast to the sweat prickling her palms. The air in Lux was heavy with the scent of truffle oil and ambition, a sanctuary for Manhattan's elite where every clink of crystal carried a price. At 24, a law student scraping by on scholarships and willpower, Monica had learned to navigate this gilded cage with precision. But tonight, her first night serving the infamous Lucy Warrington, felt like stepping onto a tightrope without a net. Her shoes clicked softly on the polished marble as she approached the corner table, where Lucy sat alone, a queen on her throne. The woman's platinum hair gleamed under the chandelier's glow, her emerald eyes slicing through Monica like a scalpel. Monica's breath hitched, not from fear but from the weight of that gaze, cold, calculating, stripping her bare. Lucy's lips, painted a cruel red, parted slightly, as if tasting the air for weakness. "Name," Lucy demanded, her voice low, a velvet blade. "And don't mumble. I need to know exactly who's handling my meal." Monica squared her shoulders, her chin lifting just enough to meet Lucy's stare. "Monica Ellis, ma'am." "Ellis!" Lucy rolled the name like a sour grape on her tongue. "Where are you from, Monica Ellis? And don't leave out a single detail. Family, education, the works. I don't trust my food to just anyone." Her eyes raked over Monica's skin, lingering on the rich brown of her forearms, a silent accusation in the tilt of her head. Monica's fingers twitched at her side, a spark of defiance igniting in her chest. She could feel the eyes of other diners, old money in tailored suits, their whispers a soft hiss in the background. "I'm from Harlem, born and raised," she said, her voice steady, a practiced calm from mock trials in law school. "Studying law at NYU, top of my class. My mother's a nurse. My father's a teacher. Anything else you need to feel secure?" Lucy's eyes narrowed, a flicker of irritation crossing her flawless face. "Your hands," she snapped. "Keep them where I can see them. No hiding behind your back. I don't take chances with people like you." The words landed like a slap, but Monica's face remained a mask of composure. Her heart pounded, a drumbeat of rage and pride, but she let a slow, deliberate smile curve her lips. "My hands are always ready to serve, Mrs. Warrington," she said, her tone honeyed with just a hint of mockery, "though I'm not sure they're precious enough to meet your standards." The dining room seemed to hold its breath. A woman in a pearl necklace at the next table froze, her fork hovering midair. A waiter across the room stifled a grin, his eyes darting to Monica with a flash of admiration. Lucy's hand shot up, her diamond-encrusted bracelet glinting as she aimed an open palm toward Monica's cheek. The motion was swift, a reflex of fury, but Monica was faster. Her hands, those same hands Lucy had scorned, snapped up, catching Lucy's wrist with a grip that was firm yet gentle, like a lawyer restraining a hostile witness. "Mrs. Warrington," Monica said, her voice low, almost intimate, "do you like my hands that much?" Lucy's face flushed crimson, her wrist trembling in Monica's grasp. The room buzzed with stifled gasps. An older man in a pinstripe suit leaned forward, his eyes wide with shock, while a young couple whispered furiously, their phones discreetly angled to capture the moment. The waitstaff, Tom, the grizzled bartender, and Lila, a fellow server, exchanged glances, their lips twitching with suppressed glee. Monica released Lucy's wrists, stepping back with the grace of a dancer, her eyes never leaving the older woman's. Lucy yanked her hands to her lap, her composure cracking like thin ice. "You'll regret that," she hissed, her voice barely audible. But the venom in it was unmistakable. She straightened, smoothing her silk dress as if to reclaim her dignity. "Bring me the menu, now." Monica inclined her head, a gesture of mock deference, and placed the leather-bound menu before Lucy. Her fingers brushed the edge, steady despite the fire in her veins. "Of course, Mrs. Warrington," she murmured, turning away. As she walked toward the kitchen, she felt the weight of every stare, diners' eyes flickering with curiosity, waiters' nods of silent respect. Tom caught her eye from behind the bar, giving her a subtle thumbs up, while Lila mouthed, "You're a legend." But Monica's mind was elsewhere, replaying Lucy's words. "People like you." The phrase clawed at her, unearthing memories of her mother's late-night shifts, her father's quiet lessons about dignity in the face of scorn. She pushed through the kitchen doors, her jaw tight, her resolve hardening like steel. Lucy Warrington might rule this world of crystal and caviar, but Monica was no pawn. She was a law student, a fighter, a woman who'd learned to wield words like weapons. As she relayed Lucy's order to the chef, her thoughts churned. This wasn't just about one night, one table. Lucy's gaze, her demands, her barely veiled contempt, they were a challenge, a gauntlet thrown at Monica's feet. And Monica, with her sharp mind and sharper will, was ready to pick it up. She glanced back through the service window, catching Lucy's silhouette against the chandelier's glow. The woman was watching her, eyes glinting with something dangerous, something that promised a war. Monica's breath steadied as she slipped back into the dining room of Lux, the weight of Lucy Warrington's gaze still burning at the edge of her awareness. Her hands, steady now, carried a silver tray with a single bottle of Evian, its label pristine, its contents chilled to an exacting 11.7 degrees Celsius. The memory of Lucy's attempted slap lingered like a bruise beneath her skin, but Monica's face betrayed nothing, only the calm of a woman who'd faced worse than a billionaire's tantrum. The dining room hummed with the low murmur of wealth, but tonight, every clink of cutlery felt like a countdown to the next battle. Lucy sat at her corner table, her posture rigid, a queen reasserting her dominion. Her emerald eyes flicked up as Monica approached, a predator sizing up prey. "The water," she said, her voice a blade wrapped in silk. "I trust it's from the latest shipment from Alps Maritimes, and I want it poured exactly 7 seconds after opening. Not a moment more." Monica's jaw tightened, a flicker of heat in her chest. She uncapped the bottle with deliberate precision, her fingers steady as a surgeon's. The cap hissed softly, and she counted silently. 1, 2, 3. Her eyes locked on Lucy's, daring her to find fault. At 7, she poured, the water cascading into the crystal glass with a clarity that mocked the absurdity of the demand. "As you requested, Mrs. Warrington," she said, her tone smooth but her pulse thrummed with defiance. Lucy's lips twitched, a sneer masquerading as a smile. "And the steak," she continued, leaning back, her diamond bracelet catching the light. "I want it cut into a perfect heart shape. No more than 1 millimeter of error. I'll measure it myself." Her eyes glinted, a challenge issued. Monica nodded, her face a mask of professionalism, but inside her mind raced. A heart shape? She's testing me, pushing me to break. She turned toward the kitchen, catching Lila's eye across the room. The older waitress raised an eyebrow, her lips quirking in a mix of pity and amusement. "She's got it out for you," Lila whispered as Monica passed, her voice low. "Nobody's survived her like that before." Monica gave a tight nod, her thoughts already on the chef, who'd likely curse her name for this one. In the kitchen, the air was thick with steam and the clatter of pans. "A heart-shaped steak?" Chef Marco barked, his knife pausing mid-chop. "What's next, a damn unicorn horn?" Monica shrugged, her voice steady. "She wants it perfect. I'll bring the caliper if I have to." Marco snorted, but his hands were already moving, carving with a precision that matched Monica's resolve. Back at Lucy's table, Monica presented the steak, its contours flawless under the dim glow of the chandelier. Lucy produced a small metal caliper from her purse, her movements theatrical, drawing the eyes of nearby diners. She measured the steak, her lips pursed, searching for a flaw. "Acceptable," she muttered, but her tone was laced with disappointment. Monica's heart gave a quiet leap, but she kept her face neutral, her fingers brushing the tray as she stepped back. Then came the napkin. This, Lucy said, holding up the linen square, is to be folded into a peacock. 12 precise folds. If I count 11 or 13, I'll send it back. Monica's stomach clenched, but she nodded, her hands moving with a dancer's grace as she folded the napkin at the service station. Her fingers trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the sheer audacity of the request. She wants me to crack, Monica thought, her eyes narrowing. She wants me to beg. She returned with the napkin, its folds a meticulous mimicry of a peacock's tail. Lucy inspected it, her fingers tracing each crease, her silence a weapon. The room seemed to lean in, diners pausing their conversations, their eyes flickering between the two women. A young man in a navy suit whispered to his date, "She's insane," while an older woman in pearls watched Monica with a hint of admiration. Tom, the bartender, polished a glass with exaggerated slowness, his smirk barely hidden. "Redo the salad," Lucy snapped suddenly, her voice cutting through the tension. "The cilantro smells pedestrian, and I want olive oil from a specific grove in Tuscany. Castello di Ama. Don't tell me you don't have it." Monica's chest tightened, her mind flashing to the kitchen's inventory. Castello di Ama? She's inventing this. But she smiled, her voice steady. "I'll confirm with the chef, Mrs. Warrington. To avoid any misunderstanding, would you mind writing down the exact groove? For clarity." Lucy's eyes flashed, a storm brewing behind them. "You're questioning me," she hissed, her fingers gripping the edge of the table. Monica held her gaze, her pulse a steady drumbeat. "Not at all. I just want to meet your standards. Perfectly." The words hung between them, a challenge cloaked in courtesy. Lucy scribbled the name on a napkin, shoving it toward Monica with a flick of her wrist. Monica turned, her steps measured, but her mind was a whirlwind. She's not just a customer, she's a war. In the kitchen, Marco confirmed they had no such oil, but Monica improvised, selecting a high-end substitute and crafting a plausible explanation. She returned, presenting the salad with a calm that belied the fire in her veins. Lucy took one bite, her face unreadable, then waved her away without a word. As Monica retreated, Lila caught her arm, her eyes gleaming. "You're a damn warrior," she whispered. But Monica's thoughts were elsewhere, tangled in Lucy's relentless demands, her cruelty a mirror to the injustices Monica studied in her law books. She glanced back, catching Lucy's silhouette against the chandelier's glow, her posture rigid with unspoken rage. Monica's lips curved faintly. "You want to fight, Mrs. Warrington? I'm just getting started." Monica's fingers curled around the edge of her law textbook, the pages worn from late-night study sessions, but her eyes were fixed on the flickering candlelight of Lux. The memory of Lucy Warrington's venomous gaze clung to her like damp silk, a weight she couldn't shake. Her shift was nearing its end, but the dining room still buzzed with the clatter of wealth, each patron a puzzle piece in Lucy's glittering world. Monica's chest tightened, not from exhaustion, but from the dawning realization that Lucy's attacks were more than personal. They were a campaign, and Monica was learning to play the game. She moved through the tables, her steps silent, her smile a practiced shield. But her mind churned, replaying the peacock napkin, the heart-shaped steak, Lucy's relentless demands. Then there was the man, Lucy's shadow, always at her side, never her husband. Monica had noticed him weeks ago, young, sharply dressed, with a smile too polished to be genuine. Tonight Lucy sat alone, her fingers drumming the table, her eyes darting to the entrance as if expecting someone who never arrived. Monica approached, her tray balanced with a fresh glass of Evian, her pulse steady despite the storm brewing in her gut. "Good evening, Mrs. Warrington," she said, her voice smooth as polished stone. "I've prepared your usual table setting, but I notice your close friend isn't joining you tonight. Shall I keep his favorite chair ready? The one with the view of the skyline?" Lucy's hand froze mid-motion, her diamond bracelet catching the light like a warning flare. Her lips parted, a sharp intake of breath betraying her. "What did you just say?" she hissed, her voice low, a serpent's whisper. Monica's heart thudded, but she held her ground, her smile unwavering. Just ensuring everything's perfect, Mrs. Warrington. I know how much you value your guest comfort. The dining room seemed to contract, the air thick with unspoken tension. A couple at a nearby table glanced over, their forks pausing, sensing the shift. Tom, behind the bar, raised an eyebrow, his rag slowing over a glass. Lucy's eyes narrowed, her fingers tightening around her wineglass, the stem trembling slightly. "You're overstepping, girl," she said, the word girl dripping with disdain. "Mind your place, or you'll find yourself out of a job." Monica's smile didn't falter, but her stomach twisted, a coil of anger and resolve. "Girl?" The word echoed, a ghost of every slight she'd endured, every professor who'd underestimated her, every classmate who'd whispered behind her back. She leaned in slightly, just enough to keep her words private. "I'm here to serve, Mrs. Warrington, but I see everything, and I remember." Her voice was soft, almost tender, but it carried a weight that made Lucy's jaw tighten. Lucy leaned back, her posture rigid, a queen reclaiming her throne. "Bring me the menu," she snapped, her voice cutting through the hum of the room. "And make it quick. I don't have time for your games." Monica nodded, stepping back, her hands steady despite the fire in her veins. As she turned, she caught Lila's eye across the room, the older waitress giving her a subtle nod, her lips twitching with approval. In the kitchen, Monica relayed Lucy's order, her mind racing. Close friend. The phrase had struck a nerve, and she knew why. The man, always in a tailored blazer, always too close to Lucy's side, was no business associate. His lingering touches, the way Lucy's voice softened in his presence, betrayed a secret she guarded fiercely. Monica's law school training kicked in, her mind cataloging details like evidence in a case. She'd seen the man's face in society pages, always a step behind Lucy, never named. A lover, not a husband. A crack in Lucy's perfect facade. "Careful, Monica," Marco the chef muttered as he plated a dish. "You're poking a dragon. Lucy's got claws." Monica's lips curved, a flicker of defiance. "So do I," she said, her voice low. Marco snorted, but his eyes held a glint of respect. Back in the dining room, Monica set the menu before Lucy, her movements deliberate, her eyes scanning the woman's face for tells. Lucy's fingers trembled slightly as she opened the menu, her gaze darting to the entrance again. Monica's chest tightened, a realization dawning. She's nervous. She's hiding something. She stepped back, her voice calm. "Anything else, Mrs. Warrington? Or shall I give you a moment to wait for company?" Lucy's eyes snapped up, a flash of fury in their depths. "You're dismissed," she said, her voice ice cold. But Monica caught the slight quiver in it, the crack in her armor. She turned away, her heart pounding, her mind alight with possibilities. The dining room watched, diners whispering, waiters pausing, the air charged with the unspoken. A woman in a velvet dress leaned toward her companion, murmuring, "That waitress has guts." Tom polished a glass with a smirk, muttering to Lila, "She's got Lucy rattled." Monica retreated to the service station, her fingers brushing the edge of her apron, her thoughts a storm. Lucy's secret, her lover, was a weapon, but Monica wasn't ready to wield it. Not yet. She needed more, needed proof. Her law books taught her that truth was a blade, but timing was its edge. She glanced back at Lucy, alone at her table, her posture brittle, her eyes fixed on the door. Monica's lips curved into a faint, dangerous smile. Monica's pulse thrummed like a taut wire as she moved through Lux's dining room, the clink of crystal and murmured wealth, a distant hum against the storm in her chest. Lucy Warrington's absence tonight should have been a reprieve, but Monica felt her presence like a shadow, the memory of those emerald eyes searing her skin. Her words from last night, "I see everything, and I remember," had been a spark, and now the air crackled with the promise of fire. She adjusted her apron, her fingers steady, but her mind raced, piecing together Lucy's secret lover, her brittle composure, the crack in her armor. Monica wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was a strategist, and Lux was her courtroom. The dining room was alive, a tapestry of power and pretense. But Monica's focus sharpened as Lucy swept in, her silk dress a whisper of midnight blue. The woman's gaze locked onto Monica instantly, a predator scenting blood. Monica's stomach knotted, but her face remained a mask of calm, her law school poise a shield. She approached, tray in hand, her voice even. "Good evening, Mrs. Warrington. Your table is ready." Lucy's lips curled, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Not quite," she said, her voice low, venomous. "I want the table rearranged. Move the chairs to face the window, exactly 30 degrees to the left, and replace the centerpiece. These lilies are vulgar." Her words were a whip, each syllable meant to sting. Monica's fingers tightened on the tray, a flicker of heat in her veins, but she nodded. "Of course. I'll have it done in 5 minutes." "3," Lucy snapped, her eyes glinting. "And read me the menu, aloud, with gravitas like you're addressing a courtroom. You're a law student, aren't you? Prove it." The challenge was blatant, a gauntlet thrown at Monica's feet. The dining room seemed to lean in, diners pausing, their eyes flickering with curiosity. A man in a charcoal suit whispered to his companion, "She's at it again." Lila nearby shot Monica a look of grim solidarity, her lips pressed tight. Monica's heart pounded, but she stepped to the table, her voice clear, resonant, as if arguing a case before a judge. "First course, seared scallops with a citrus beurre blanc, sourced from Hokkaido." She read, her tone deliberate, each word a defiance of Lucy's mockery. Lucy's eyes narrowed, searching for a crack, but Monica's cadence was flawless, her posture unyielding. The room watched, a woman in a velvet gown nodding subtly, impressed, while Tom at the bar polished a glass with a knowing smirk. When she finished, Lucy leaned forward, her voice a hiss. "Adequate, but the wine list next. And don't bore me." Monica complied, her voice steady, but her mind churned. "She's escalating. She wants me to break." She handed Lucy the wine list, her fingers brushing the leather, her eyes catching the faint tremble in Lucy's hand. "She's not as calm as she seems." Then it happened. Lucy's wine glass, crystal, priceless, slipped from her hand, shattering on the marble floor with a sound like a gunshot. The room froze, forks clattering, eyes wide. Lucy's face was a mask of calculated outrage. "You clumsy girl," she spat, loud enough for every table to hear. "You knocked it over. Apologize. Now, in front of everyone." Her eyes gleamed, a trap sprung. Monica's chest tightened, her pulse a wild drumbeat. She planned this. Her eyes flicked to the shards, then to Lucy's smug face. She could feel the dining room's gaze. Diners whispering, a young couple filming discreetly, Lila's fist clenched at her side. "I'm sorry the glass broke, Mrs. Warrington," Monica said, her voice calm but firm. "But I didn't touch it. The cameras will show exactly what happened." She gestured subtly to the security lens above, her law student's instinct kicking in. Lucy's smile faltered, a flicker of panic in her eyes. "You're accusing me," she hissed, her voice low. "Dangerous. You'll regret this." Monica held her gaze, her own eyes steady, a quiet fire burning within. "I'm just suggesting we let the truth speak, Mrs. Warrington. It's what I'm trained for." The words hung between them, a dare wrapped in deference. The manager, Mr. Hargrove, hurried over, his face pale, his tie askew. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice tight. Monica stepped back, her hands clasped, her posture unyielding. "Mrs. Warrington's glass broke. I suggested we check the cameras to clarify." Hargrove's eyes darted between them, his Adam's apple bobbing. He nodded, gesturing to a busboy to clean the mess, then whispered to Monica, "Stay sharp. She's not done." As Monica retreated, the dining room buzzed. A woman in pearls murmured, "That girl's got spine," while her companion nodded, eyes wide. Lila caught Monica's arm, her voice low. "You're playing with fire, but damn, you're good." Tom gave a low whistle, his grin wide. But Monica's mind was elsewhere, replaying Lucy's trembling hand, her lover's absence, the crack in her facade. She's not invincible, Monica thought, her jaw tight. She's human, and humans fall. She glanced back, catching Lucy's silhouette against the window, her fingers gripping a new glass, her eyes fixed on Monica with a hatred that was almost palpable. Monica's lips curved into a faint, defiant smile. You want a war, Mrs. Warrington? I'm ready. Monica's fingers trembled as she scrolled through her laptop, the dim glow of her Harlem apartment casting shadows across the legal briefs strewn on her desk. The memory of Lucy Warrington's shattered wineglass lingered like a bruise, but it was the woman's venom, clumsy girl, spat like a curse, that burned deepest. Monica's breath hitched, her chest tight with a fury she'd learned to bury under years of discipline. Lux was no longer just a job. It was a battlefield, and Lucy was an enemy who played dirty. But Monica was no stranger to fighting for her place. Tonight she was hunting. Her law school notes lay abandoned, replaced by a browser window filled with old news articles and court filings. Monica's eyes narrowed, her pulse quickening as she uncovered a name. Sarah Coleman. A woman, black, pregnant, fired from Warrington Properties 3 years ago. The official story was a layoff, but whispers in legal forums told a different tale. Sarah had been dismissed after Lucy deemed her unfit for the company's image. No severance, no apology, just a quiet settlement buried under layers of legal tape. Monica's stomach churned, her fingers curling into fists. Unfit. The word echoed her own battles, her mother's late-night tears, the slights she'd swallowed to survive. She leaned back, her chair creaking, her mind racing. This is it. Lucy's secret, her shame. She typed a message to a law school friend, Jamal, who had access to court archives. Need everything on Sarah Coleman versus Warrington Properties. Urgent. Her phone buzzed almost instantly. You're digging into Lucy Warrington? Be careful, Mon. She's a viper. Monica's lips twitched, a grim smile. Careful's my middle name. At Lux, the air was thick with tension as Monica slipped into her shift, her apron a second skin, her resolve a blade. Lucy was there, as expected, her table a fortress of silk and diamonds. But Monica noticed the subtle tells, the way Lucy's fingers tapped restlessly, the flicker of unease in her eyes. Monica approached, her voice steady, her smile a calculated mask. Evening, Mrs. Warrington. Your usual Evian or something new tonight? Lucy's gaze snapped up, sharp as a guillotine. Don't play coy, she said, her voice low, venomous. I've spoken to Hargrove about you. One more misstep, and you're out. Understood? Monica's heart thudded, but she held her ground, her fingers brushing the tray. I understand perfectly, Mrs. Warrington. I'm here to serve. The words were polite, but her eyes held a challenge, a silent promise. I know more than you think. Lucy leaned forward, her voice a hiss. You're too confident for a waitress. It'll be your downfall. Monica's chest tightened, her mind flashing to Sarah, pregnant, discarded, silenced. She swallowed the rage, her smile unwavering. Confidence keeps me sharp, Mrs. Warrington. Anything else I can do for you? Lucy's lips pursed, her fingers tightening around her fork, but she waved Monica away with a flick of her wrist. In the kitchen, Monica's breath came faster, her hands trembling as she relayed Lucy's order. Lila sidled up, her voice low. She's gunning for you, Mon. Hargrove's sweating bullets. Monica nodded, her jaw tight. Let her try. I'm not going anywhere. She pulled out her phone, checking for Jamal's reply. A new email blinked. Scanned documents, a deposition transcript, Sarah's signature. Monica's pulse surged. Got you. She found Sarah's contact through a mutual connection, a former classmate who'd worked pro bono cases. Her message was brief. I'm Monica, a law student. I know what Lucy Warrington did to you. Can we talk? Hours later, Sarah's reply came. Meet me tomorrow. I'm done staying quiet. Monica's chest swelled, a mix of fear and triumph. Sarah's story, her pain, her resilience, was a weapon, and Monica was learning how to wield it. Back in the dining room, Lucy's demands escalated. This fork, she said, holding it up like evidence in a trial, is smudged. Replace the entire set, and do it silently. Monica complied, her movements swift, her face unreadable, but her mind was elsewhere, piecing together Sarah's story. The woman's voice, raw and steady, echoed in her thoughts. I was 3 months pregnant. She looked at me like I was nothing. Monica's fingers tightened around the new cutlery, her resolve hardening. You're not nothing, Sarah. and neither am I. The dining room watched, a quiet audience to their silent war. A man in a tweed jacket murmured to his wife, "That waitress is something else." Lila, clearing a nearby table, gave Monica a subtle nod, her eyes gleaming with pride. But Lucy's gaze was a storm, her fingers drumming, her composure fraying. Monica set the new forks down, her voice soft but deliberate. "Anything else, Mrs. Warrington? I'm here to make things right." Lucy's eyes flashed, a flicker of unease breaking through her mask. She said nothing, but her silence was heavy, a retreat disguised as disdain. Monica turned away, her heart pounding, her mind alight with purpose. Sarah's story was the key, and tomorrow Monica would hold it in her hands. She glanced back, catching Lucy's silhouette against the chandelier's glow, her posture brittle, her eyes fixed on Monica, with a hatred that was almost alive. Monica's lips curved, a faint, dangerous promise. "You can't hide forever, Mrs. Warrington. The truth is coming." Monica's heart thundered as she stood at the edge of Lux's grand ballroom, the gala's opulence a glittering cage around her. Crystal chandeliers cast prisms across silk-draped tables, but the air was thick with anticipation, the kind that precedes a storm. Tonight, Lucy Warrington was the star, guest of honor, her name emblazoned on the charity auction's banners. Monica's fingers tightened around her tray, her apron a stark contrast to the sea of gowns and tuxedos. Sarah's story burned in her chest, a secret weapon she'd carried since their meeting yesterday, when Sarah's trembling voice had laid bare the cruelty of Lucy's past. Now Monica was ready to strike. Lucy sat at the head table, her midnight blue dress shimmering, her smile a practiced mask for the flashing cameras. But Monica saw the cracks, her restless fingers, the way her eyes darted to the crowd, searching for threats. Monica moved closer, her steps silent, her law student's mind sharp as a blade. "Champagne, Mrs. Warrington?" she asked, her voice smooth, but her pulse raced, knowing Sarah was waiting in the wings. Lucy's gaze snapped to her, a flicker of disdain in her emerald eyes. "You're still here?" she said, her voice low, venomous. "I thought Hargrove would have had sense by now." Monica's lips curved into a faint, defiant smile. "I'm harder to get rid of than a smudged fork," she replied, setting the glass down with deliberate care. The crowd buzzed, diners whispering, a journalist scribbling notes, sensing the tension. Lila, stationed nearby, gave Monica a subtle nod, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. Then it happened. Lucy stood, her voice ringing out as she addressed the gala. "Before we begin, a word about service," she said, her smile sharp as a blade. "This girl," she gestured to Monica, her tone dripping with scorn, "misplaced my diamond bracelet tonight. I demand an apology, here now, before we continue." The room fell silent, cameras swiveling, diners leaning forward. A woman in a sequined gown gasped, her hand clutching her pearls, while a man in a tuxedo muttered, "Typical Lucy." Monica's chest tightened, her pulse a wild drumbeat. "She's lying." She stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fire in her veins. "I'm sorry you lost your bracelet, Mrs. Warrington, but I didn't touch it. The cameras will show I wasn't near your table when you claim it went missing." Her words were calm, measured, a lawyer's precision cutting through the accusation. The crowd murmured, a ripple of surprise. Tom at the bar raised an eyebrow, his grin barely hidden. Lucy's face flushed, her composure cracking. "You dare accuse me?" she hissed, her voice rising. "You're nothing but a—" Before she could finish, a woman stepped forward from the crowd, her presence commanding despite her simple black dress. Sarah Coleman. Monica's breath caught, her heart lurching. They'd planned for Sarah to speak anonymously, to protect her new life, but now she stood tall, her eyes locked on Lucy. "My name is Sarah Coleman," Sarah said, her voice clear, unwavering, slicing through the room's hum. 3 years ago, Mrs. Warrington fired me from Warrington Properties because I was black and pregnant. She said I didn't fit her image. No severance, no apology, just a threat to stay quiet. The room froze, gasps echoing, cameras flashing. A journalist leaned forward, scribbling furiously, while a woman in velvet whispered, "My God, is that true?" Sarah continued, her voice trembling but resolute. I was 3 months pregnant. I almost lost my son, but I rebuilt my life. I have a better job now, and my boy's healthy. I came here to stay silent, but I won't hide anymore. Monica's eyes stung, her throat tight with awe and pride. Sarah. She hadn't expected this courage, this raw defiance. Lucy's face paled, her hands gripping the table, her diamonds glinting like shards of her crumbling facade. "That's a lie," Lucy snapped, but her voice wavered, her eyes darting to the crowd, seeking allies. None came. The journalist stood, her pen poised, while diners exchanged shocked glances, their whispers a growing storm. Monica seized the moment, her voice ringing out. "Mrs. Warrington, Sarah's story is documented. Court filings, depositions, they don't lie. Unlike some." The crowd gasped, a man in a pinstripe suit clapping slowly, his wife nodding in approval. Lila's eyes shone with tears, her fists clenched in triumph. Lucy's gaze locked on Monica, a mix of fury and fear, her lips trembling as she struggled for words. "You'll pay for this," Lucy whispered, her voice barely audible. But the room was no longer hers. Sarah stepped closer, her presence a quiet force. "No, Mrs. Warrington, you will," she said, her voice steady, a mother's strength. Monica's heart swelled, her hands trembling with the weight of the moment. She caught Sarah's eye, a silent thank you passing between them, a bond forged in shared defiance. As Lucy sank into her chair, her face ashen, the gala erupted in murmurs, cameras capturing every moment. Monica stepped back, her chest heaving, her mind alight with victory and fear. The journalist approached Sarah, eager for more, while diners turned to Monica, their eyes filled with respect. Lila grabbed her arm, whispering, "You did it, Mon." But Monica's gaze lingered on Lucy, her silhouette brittle against the chandelier's glow. A queen dethroned. This isn't over, Monica thought, her lips curving with resolve. But tonight, we won. Monica's breath caught in her throat as she stood in the dim service corridor of Lux, the gala's aftershock still rippling through her. The memory of Sarah's voice, steady, raw, shattering Lucy Warrington's facade, burned like a torch in her chest. Her hands trembled, not from fear but from the electric surge of triumph, tempered by the weight of what came next. Lucy's eyes, wild with fury and fear, haunted her, a promise of retaliation. Monica's law student instinct screamed, "Gather evidence! Stay sharp!" The war wasn't over, it was escalating. She slipped back into the dining room, the air heavy with the scent of champagne and whispered gossip. The gala had dispersed, but Lucy lingered at her table, her posture rigid, her fingers clutching a new wineglass like a lifeline. Monica's pulse quickened, her mind racing. She's not done. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. Jamal's message. Found dirt on Lucy's friend. Guy's name is Ethan Caldwell. Shady loans, wired to offshore accounts. Be careful, Mon. Monica's lips twitched, a grim spark of possibility. Ethan, her lover, her weakness. She approached Lucy's table, her steps deliberate, her smile a practiced veil. "Another glass, Mrs. Warrington?" she asked, her voice smooth. But her eyes caught the faint quiver in Lucy's hand, the way her gaze darted to the empty chair beside her. Lucy's lips parted, a hiss escaping. "You think you've won," she said, her voice low, venomous. "You and that woman, Sarah, think you can ruin me." Her eyes glinted, a predator cornered but still dangerous. Monica's heart pounded, her fingers brushing the tray, steadying herself. "I don't ruin people, Mrs. Warrington," she said, her tone calm but edged with steel. "I just let the truth breathe, like a fine wine." She paused, leaning in just enough. "Speaking of breathing, your friend hasn't been around lately. Trouble with Ethan, perhaps?" The name slipped out, deliberate, a dart aimed at Lucy's core. Lucy's face paled, her wineglass trembling, a soft clink against the table. "How dare you?" she whispered, her voice cracking, her eyes darting to the diners nearby, who were too engrossed to notice. But Tom at the bar caught Monica's eye, his smirk a silent cheer. Lila, clearing a table, paused, her lips twitching with pride. Lucy leaned forward, her voice a hiss. "You're digging your own grave, girl. I'll sue you for slander. I'll destroy you. Monica's chest tightened, her mind flashing to Sarah's story, to her own mother's late-night confessions of workplace slights. Girl. The word was a blade, but Monica was forged in sharper steel. Slander requires lies, Mrs. Warrington, she said, her voice low, a lawyer's precision. And I deal in facts, like offshore accounts, or loans that don't get repaid. Her words were a gamble, but Jamal's intel was solid, and Lucy's reaction, eyes wide, breath hitching, confirmed it. Lucy's hands shot out, knocking the wineglass over, the red liquid pooling like blood on the white tablecloth. The dining room stirred, a woman in a sapphire gown gasping softly, her companion whispering, "She's losing it." Monica stepped back, her hands clasped, her face unreadable. "I'll get you a new glass," she said, her voice calm, but her heart roared with defiance. "You're unraveling, Lucy." In the kitchen, Monica's hands shook as she relayed the incident to Marco. "She's cracking," she murmured, her voice low. Marco raised an eyebrow, his knife pausing mid-chop. "You're playing a dangerous game, Mon, but damn, you're good." Monica's lips curved, but her mind was elsewhere, piecing together Ethan's role. Jamal's email had included screenshots, bank transfers, cryptic messages, Ethan's name tied to Lucy's wealth. He's using her, Monica thought, her jaw tight, and she knows it. Her phone buzzed again. Sarah's message. "Thank you for giving me my voice back. I'm ready to help." Monica's throat tightened, a swell of gratitude and resolve. She typed a quick reply. "Stay safe. We're not done." Back in the dining room, Lucy was gone, her table empty, the stained tablecloth a testament to her loss of control. The other diners whispered, their eyes flickering to Monica with a mix of awe and curiosity. A man in a tweed jacket raised his glass to her, murmuring, "Well played." Lila grabbed her arm, her voice a fierce whisper. "You've got her running scared, Mon." But Monica's mind was a storm, her thoughts on Lucy's threat. "I'll destroy you." She knew Lucy wouldn't stop. A woman like her didn't surrender. Monica slipped to the service station, her fingers brushing her phone, her law books flashing in her mind. Evidence, timing, truth. She'd need all three to finish this. She glanced at Lucy's empty chair, the chandelier's light casting a cold glow over the scene. Her lips curved, a faint, dangerous promise. "Run all you want, Mrs. Warrington. I'm right behind you." Monica stood in her cramped Harlem apartment, the dawn light filtering through cracked blinds, casting stripes across her law degree, freshly framed on the wall. Her heart thudded, a quiet rhythm of triumph and exhaustion, as she traced the embossed letters of her name. The battle with Lucy Warrington had left scars, invisible, but raw, etched in the sleepless nights and the weight of every whispered slight. Lux was behind her now, but its echoes lingered, Sarah's voice breaking the galla's silence. Lucy's trembling hands, the dining room's collective gasp. Monica's lips twitched, a faint smile born of hard-won victory. She'd faced a titan and walked away standing. Her phone buzzed, a news alert flashing. Warrington Properties faces scrutiny after scandal. Monica's pulse quickened, her fingers tightening around the device. The article detailed Lucy's fall, her husband's public distancing, the unraveling of her marriage after Ethan's betrayal surfaced, the company's plummeting stock. Monica's chest tightened, not with pity but with the weight of what she'd set in motion. Sarah's courage, her own defiance, had cracked open Lucy's world, and the truth was spilling out. She stepped into Lux one last time. Not as a waitress, but as a guest, her black blazer sharp against the familiar marble floors. The air was lighter now, the chandelier's glow less oppressive. Lila spotted her first, her face breaking into a grin. "Look at you, counselor," she teased, pulling Monica into a hug. "Heard you're with a big law firm now. Fighting the good fight?" Monica's throat tightened, her smile soft. "Something like that." Tom, behind the bar, raised a glass. "To Monica, the Dragon Slayer," he called, drawing chuckles from the staff. The dining room hummed, but the faces were different. No Lucy, no venomous gaze. Monica's eyes drifted to the corner table, now occupied by a young couple, oblivious to its history. Her fingers brushed her blazer, steadying herself against the flood of memories. Lucy's accusations, Sarah's stand, the cameras flashing like lightning. Her phone buzzed again. Sarah's message. Filing a new lawsuit. You in? Monica's heart swelled, a mix of pride and purpose. She'd met Sarah again after the gala, their coffee shop talks forging a bond deeper than shared pain. Sarah's son, a bright-eyed toddler, had clung to Monica's hand, unaware of the war his mother had fought. Monica typed back, "Count me in. Let's get justice." Her fingers trembled, not from fear, but from the fire of possibility. This is why I studied law. The door to Lux swung open, and Monica's breath caught. Lucy. She stood there, her silk scarf a stark contrast to her hollowed cheeks, her eyes dulled by defeat. The room hushed, diners pausing, their whispers a soft ripple. Lucy's gaze found Monica, a flicker of recognition sparking, then fading. "You," she said, her voice a shadow of its former venom. "Come to gloat?" Monica's chest tightened, her mind flashing to every insult, every demand, every moment she'd refused to break. She stepped closer, her voice low, steady. "I don't gloat, Mrs. Warrington. I fight. For people like Sarah. For people like me." Her words were a blade, precise, cutting through Lucy's last defenses. Lucy's lips trembled, her hands clutching her purse, but she said nothing, her silence a surrender. A woman in a velvet dress at a nearby table leaned toward her companion, murmuring, "That's the girl from the gala." A man in a tweed jacket nodded, his eyes on Monica, a quiet respect in his gaze. Lila watched from the service station, her fists clenched in silent triumph. Lucy turned, her steps unsteady, and walked out, the door closing with a soft thud that felt final. Monica exhaled, her shoulders easing, the weight of months lifting. She glanced at Lila, who mouthed, "You're a damn hero." But Monica's mind was on Sarah, on the lawsuit, on the women who'd never had a voice. Her phone buzzed again, a job offer from a firm specializing in civil rights cases. Her lips curved, a spark of hope igniting. This is just the beginning. She stepped outside, the Manhattan air cool against her skin, the city's pulse sinking with her own. Lucy's shadow was gone, her empire crumbling under the weight of truth. Monica's thoughts turned to her mother, her father, their lessons of resilience echoing in her veins. She'd fought not just for herself but for Sarah, for every name buried in settlements and silence. Her fingers brushed the phone in her pocket, Sarah's message a beacon. "We're not done." Monica looked up at the skyline, the lights a constellation of possibilities. Her heart beat steady, a drum of purpose. Lucy Warrington had been a storm, but Monica was the dawn that followed, unyielding, radiant, and just. She took a step forward, her lips curving into a smile that promised more battles, more victories. For justice. For us. Monica's triumph over Lucy is a testament to courage and justice, a beacon for those silenced by power. Her journey, from a waitress to a warrior, ignites hope, proving truth can shatter even the mightiest facades. I invite you, dear readers, to share your thoughts. How did Monica's defiance or Sarah's bravery resonate with you? Thank you for joining this tale of resilience and redemption. Your support fuels these stories, and I hope you'll eagerly await the next. Until then, keep fighting for what's right.